It's a live stream. Hello, it's a live stream. My lights are going to turn off in like 5 minutes and it's going to get dark. But I have a remote to turn them back on, so it's fine. Welcome. Give us a second to see if anyone will load into chat or anything. Titled this, Why Should I Believe in God? Because I just, I feel like that's a good place to start. It's like, I seek evidence. A lot of what I do on this channel is actually just me asking, sometimes begging for evidence of anything supernatural, any God, whatnot. And so far, not impressed. I started this channel with a little bit of hope that, I would walk in and be like, there's no evidence for God, and then just get absolutely destroyed by the mountains of evidence for God. But it's been 2 years, and I haven't gotten that. So there's that. Hello. So there is that. So what can you do? It's almost like there's no evidence for God. You have a question. I might have an answer. I might. What is your question? I'm just keeping this remote near me. It's going to get dark in 5 minutes. It's going to take me off guard. I'm not going to be ready for it. The darkness. It's Satan coming over me. This is why I usually do lives after 9:30. Because my lights are set to automatically go off at 9:30. But oh well. It's fine. I want to get started, It was a little early tonight. Nothing wrong with that. A little early. End a little early. Like, not end early for, like, how live, I don't know. People watching this later on will see how long it ends up being. Hopefully it's an adequate amount of time. I mean, you don't need to watch the whole thing. God created the earth in 7 days, and he made us and dinosaurs. Why do people say that dinosaurs came millions of years before us? That's a great question. It's almost like the creation story didn't happen that way. How does that logic work? My favorite part of the creation story is probably where God creates night and day and vegetation and light before he creates the sun. I guess that's my favorite part. It's just one of those things. One of my teachers growing up, because I went to Christian schools all growing up, the best explanation I heard is it was written by somebody as a concept of kind of what happened. It is how one of my teachers explained it. And not to be taken literally. It's just like, roughly God, did this and this and that. It's kind of how he explained it. That was one wild thing about my upbringing. I was raised Catholic, and I went to Catholic schools K through 12th grade. And, I mean, as with much of Christianity, a lot of my religious teachers seem to have different views on what Christianity is, what is permissible, what is, this, that. A YouTube live stream, yes. And I don't know why it didn't strike me as odd before, because, there are some teachers who are like, yes, the creation event in the Bible did happen, and there are others who said, nah, it probably didn't, but it's like, it was like kind of something like that. So, I don't know. I wonder why it never struck me as odd before. Yeah, I'm doing a YouTube live stream because unlike the other platform that I was live streaming on, YouTube doesn't care as much about what I say. I don't have to tiptoe around on thin ice on this platform. The worst I can do is get demonetized, which would be unfortunate. I'm not monetized anyway, but in the future. But I value being able to speak with people openly a little bit more. Some people say because God's days are longer than our days, and some people say dinosaurs aren't real. And there's a logical reason for both dinosaurs being real and God being real. Yeah. I mean, I would definitely believe that dinosaurs once existed. I can definitely believe that. God thing, I don't know about. Maybe. I would like there to be a God or something supernatural. I say this in quite a few of my videos. I would love for there to be something, but I don't know. I don't know. It's again, when I started making this content, there it is. I wasn't prepared. Wait, where's the power button? Please work. Thank you. Okay, cool. We're great. Um, when I started making this content, I was just fresh an atheist, so still like I could teeter back. If I step out and just get overwhelmed with evidence for God, clearly I could be like, all right, that was wrong. You're right. God is real, and then it didn't happen. Slowly over the course of these 2.5 years, uh, just that flame has just dwindled and died out, and I'm really kind of lost hope that there's anything out there, which is kind of a bummer. But I mean, what can you do at the end of the day? I've learned that life doesn't always care about your feelings, and facts don't always care about your feelings. I don't like using cliche quips like that, but it's true. Just because I want there to be a God, that doesn't put a God there, unfortunately, or anything supernatural. My parents and sister tried to explain to me how it goes together, but what they were saying made no sense. Some people are better at explaining the stuff than others, especially your average Christian uh, might not be able to defend their faith as well as they perhaps should be. There's a lot of pastors and apologists and scholars who could explain Christianity and defend Christianity way better than just the average Christian, because unfortunately, average Christian just, like I said, isn't as great at defending their faith as they perhaps should be. And a lot of Christians haven't even read the Bible, which is probably not a good place to start. God is good. Okay. You didn't capitalize his name, but that's okay. I won't. I shouldn't nitpick. I'm sorry, that was mean. Do you have anything else on that? Of why is he good, and why should I believe? Hello? I don't know what that word means, I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't know how to read. Reading's hard. You don't just learn how to read. That's a myth. You don't need to read the myth. You would think that people would learn how to read. I need my fidget cube. My ADHD is acting up. It took us 12 million years to find out the real God, Zeus and Athena, had to retire first. Maybe. I even asked my pastor. He said, only God can tell you how it works, so pray on it. And I did, and God just told me, you'll find out soon, my child. And I dreamed this, though, so I don't know. Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of people pray to God and seem to get different answers from this God. And a lot of people pray to various different gods, various different religions, and get different answers. It seems more likely to me that it's you that you're talking to, that it's your own head thoughts, or it's your brain, creating this separate entity to speak to, or just kind of an imaginary friend type of situation. Maybe that's why you didn't get, a solid answer. Maybe just because your brain just didn't have one. Thank you for stopping by, Kieran. Have good sleeps. I recommend you pick a god and pray. God is good for civilization. Just pick a random god. What if I pick the wrong god? Can this person who's talking about God to capitalize the G in God? I called them out on that immediately. They said God is good, and they didn't even capitalize the name. Although now they're saying just pick a god, so maybe they're just talking like broad, just like a god. And then you could always pick the wrong one. I could spend my life dedicated to the Christian God, and I could pass away and be face to face with Zeus. Then what am I gonna do? Or if I pass away and am face to face with Allah, you know, with the Quran. She's like, hey, yeah, don't follow this. Don't follow this religion that says like that Christ was the son of God and whatnot. He's not my son. He's just a prophet. You know, all this stuff. Like, don't follow Christianity. So what if I follow Christianity and then Allah is there? Then I'm in trouble. Even if they say God in any way, it's still good to capitalize the G because that's how it is. I usually only capitalize the G in God if I'm speaking about the Christian God. Like, that's just kind of the name that we've given him. Otherwise, if I say a God or gods or something like that, I usually lowercase it. It's, what is it, proper nouns versus normal nouns. I only went to college for English literature. You would think I'd learn a thing or two about English literature. But who needs to learn? Who needs to learn? what importance is learning? Learning is very important. You should always try to learn stuff. Always keep learning. Always keep asking questions. Even question the answers that you got from your previous questioning. Started high school yesterday, got 3 honors classes. Well, that's some learning. That's good. That will get you learning. That is the best way to learn. So good luck to you on that. I'm excited for all the back to school stuff to be over because stores put out Halloween stuff after that, and Halloween's my favorite holiday, so I'm so excited. I work at a local supermarket, and they're slowly putting out more and more Halloween stuff, and it makes me so happy. I cannot wait for the back to school stuff to just be over so we can just get Halloween. English Honors 1, Biology Honors, and digital Honors class. Nice. It's very good. Well, again, just good luck. Sound like you're smarter than me. I wasn't good in school. I'll tell you that right now. I was more of an ABC student. There was one semester that I finished with a D, and it was Advanced Chemistry 2. After having a D or a C in chemistry the year before, don't ask me whose idea it was to put me in Advanced Chemistry 2, but it was somebody's idea. It did not go well. Your chat is dead. Well, there's nobody here. What do you want from them? There's like 2 or 3 people here. Plus, I'm a small content creator. So a lot of lives are just going to be me kind of rambling. Or I could go on and on about whatever else, you know, even if chat doesn't ever show up. It just be like that sometimes. At least I'm getting some interaction from people. That does make me happy. Yeah, we all have to start somewhere. All have to start somewhere. I am excited that I've passed 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. That was recent. That was very exciting. I made a little like written post about it on YouTube, but like, I don't know. I don't feel like I expressed my excitement. I also couldn't believe it because I'm sitting here watching us slowly climb to 1,000, and then all of a sudden one of my videos blows up and I rocket right past 1,000, and am continuing to grow at a pretty steady rate. It's just like, wow, okay, we're here now. I wasn't prepared for that, you know, especially because I wanted to start doing the YouTube live streams at 1,000, because you can do YouTube live streams before 1,000, but it has certain restrictions. None that would really affect a small creator like me. It's mostly like how many audience members you can have, which I'm not going to have a lot of audience members anyway, clearly. But I just didn't want any restrictions. So I kept doing lives on the other platform and expected like to start doing YouTube, you know, in a month or so or whatever. And then suddenly I had over 1,000 subscribers, and here I am. Keep getting copyright strikes and lose my life privileges for a while, but I just need my family talking in the background, maybe. So now I can't go live right now. That sucks. Yeah, you always gotta be careful with that stuff. I'm fortunate when I have my lives. I'm just alone in a room at night. No one talking, no noise in the background, because you do have to be careful about all that. You also, I'm sure, have to be careful about, what you say or if you use any content or whatever, but I'm sure it's just background noise. It's a lot harder to lose access here than it is on TikTok, where I was making lives. They have such a strict algorithm on what you can and cannot say, and it drove me crazy. Watching your channel since you had like 700, 800 subs. That's awesome. Well, I hope you enjoy it. Thank you for sticking around. I always think it's cool when I have people that stick around. I have some people who've been around since my first 100, and it's just like, wow, why are you still here? I don't think I'm that interesting to retain an audience, but maybe I am. But thank you for being here. God is good for civilization. It's debatable. I mean, maybe helping us get certain things in place. I sometimes describe God as he could have, or the concept of God could have been kind of like training wheels. It has done some good things for society and a lot of terrible things. But now we're in a point in society where we don't really need the idea of God anymore. And in some aspects, it kind of holds us back. So one might argue that we're ready to remove the training wheels and take off on a bike, because bikes go faster. You have to learn with training wheels on a bike, but once you learn how to ride a bike, the training wheels slow you down. This is about to get on your nerves. It's okay. That's the internet. The internet has a lot of people who also don't care about your feelings. If you scroll through, I'm sure you've scrolled through the comment sections of my videos. People will just do what they want and say what they want and live their life. It just kind of is what it is. I also still think that they're talking about like a generic God. But he just says the same thing over and over again. Maybe. Don't need myself. Money itself is the God of this world according... Okay. I mean, money does kind of make the world go around. Unfortunately, we have set it in place as an important means of exchanging goods and whatnot. Can't do much without money. And I live in the United States. I know that struggle all too well, because things are getting expensive. Well, I wouldn't even say they're getting expensive. Things have gotten expensive. Everyone needs money to believe in it. They worship it, give it value, and make scripture and other arts for it. I don't know if it's that deep, but like it is a currency system that the world has agreed upon, so we don't have to trade things that actually have value. You can just be like, here's this, piece of cotton linen paper that is worth $100, even though it's not. I can buy $100 thing with it. It's just, it's something we agreed upon. So to make the exchange of goods a little bit easier. I don't like how much it makes the world go round and how much the world relies on it. I especially like again, like in the U.S., it shouldn't be struggling for basic necessities anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world, you should not be struggling for basic necessities, especially if you're working. There are people who are working 2 jobs, 50, 60 hours a week, and still not being able to afford rent, let alone a mortgage. What I understand is that your definition of a god is that of the creator god in the Abrahamic religion, full of mysticism. Yeah, sure. Something bigger than money. I wouldn't really see money as a god. So I'm sure people could worship money as a god. You can worship anything as your god. But I feel like God's a different platform. I like how this person trying to tell people this stuff, and God says in the Bible about let his people find their own way to him without contenting to what you think and live for. Yeah. Regardless of what you go through, Lord loves you and wants you to know the things you've struggled with are not your end all, and those who have been cruel to you were used to make you stronger. Cool. Great. Bless you and yours continue to be you wonderfully created. I will try. I'll try to be whatever I am. Reading that person's paragraph. Listen. Some people just be typing different. I get comments like that sometimes, where it's like an entire paragraph that has like no punctuations or anything, and it's just like, I don't even know what they're trying to say. I explained to you kind of what my idea of a god is. Maybe type in random stuff. Yeah. When I think God, I do think of God, Allah, Zeus, Jupiter, Vishnu. It's a label people apply to anything they come together and alone to believe in. Not really. Just believing in something and putting value on something doesn't make it a god. I had come out on my shorts, but it made no sense. I get those sometimes. The best part is sometimes you get comments that sound confident. You know, there's like a little bit of tone of confidence, but you have no idea what they're saying. You know, it's just like you're like kicking down the door and you have all the confidence and you're about to tell me what's up, and then like can't even read it. They give value to it like money in the form of scripture and arts and crafts to preach and amass more value to it. Still think it's a different thing than a god, though. You're wonderfully created more than what the world programmed you to conform to. Peace, bro. Peace. I appreciate it. Now, I can agree some people do treat money as if it is some, like, being or deity, but I think of a god as something you more bow down and worship to. You know, there's a little bit more worship, I guess, would be the best way I could describe it, that goes into it. But yes, people do put money up on a very high pedestal and treat it as their end-all be-all. I can agree with that. I think where we're losing each other is just that final definition. And I still don't know if I'd quite, generally speaking, put that as a god. Although, again, some people arguably do make it as if it were a god. Because anything can be a god, really. You just gotta worship it. You can make a golden calf and worship it. I'm sorry for you. The comment said, I'm sorry for you. You are the best YouTube videos, question mark. That's exactly what the comment said on my channel. I'm sorry for you. You can. It's the kid. It's the kid. He's like, you ever have a dream where you you can do it? It sounds like that kid. It sounds like a genuine comment, you know, so maybe like we shouldn't be laughing at it, but like, what'd you even say? You saw God as a person, someone who gave you purpose and benefits. Not necessarily. And a person, not really. You know, people, I think of like human people, fleshy human people. God is more, I would see, as a being who can give purpose and benefits, sure, and punishment and whatever else. I think you would be attracted to worship a cow or other animal gods that would give you real benefit, like the Hindu instead of the spiritual one. What would worshiping a cow do for me? I mean, I mean, I mean the you get some use out of them, leather and meat and stuff. Animals, we do get some use out of them, so that's cool. Say Christians muling out how their God says follows him as allowed slaves. You say Christians muting out how their God says who follows him is allowed slaves. I'm not sure what you're saying, but the God of the Bible does seem to support slavery. I just said what? LOL, because I don't know how to respond to that. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I would say thanks because it sounds like they're, but then I don't know. There was a question mark at the end too. There's just a lot. It's one of those. The longer you stare at it, the more it just kind of falls apart. It's like, what am I looking at? Remember those fast food restaurants were having a fight last time? I do remember that. It was Taco Bell and KFC. I didn't even read like half of them. I just kept engaging with chat and just kind of let them exist. Are you dyslexic, Drew? It's entirely possible. Not diagnosed or anything, and I wouldn't say it out loud. I wouldn't claim to be dyslexic because I don't want to offend people who are actually dyslexic. It's not funny, but I definitely have issues reading, and sometimes my brain does switch letters and stuff, so it's entirely possible. I also I don't know, my screen is just hard to see. Maybe I should put my glasses on. That might help. Those things that they made so that you can see more clearly, that I have a pair of because I need them to see more clearly. It might help if I put one of those on. It's like the longer you stare at it, the more brain storage you lose. Yeah. I feel like you have a problem reading text that may be monotone. Maybe. I also read text just kind of in a monotone way of just like, because I don't know what their tone is, I don't know. It's hard to see like what they're trying to say, or like what a tone. I think would be the best way. It's hard to decipher the tone of a given comment. Worshiping a cow makes more sense to me because there's an empirical evidence that cows exist. That is true. And like I said earlier, not only is there evidence that cows exist, but you can get things from cows. Cows do help. I can, feed people and clothe people with cows, or with the stuff that I get from cows. William Wilberforce had naval warfare to stop slavery. Okay, good. I don't know who that is. Probably should. It's 10:53 for me. It's 9:53 for me. I am on Central Standard Time here in the U.S. Here in the great Midwest. Central Time Twins, nice. It'll make it easier for you to maybe catch my lives, because I go live at about the same time every Tuesday. What objective morality do I follow? I don't really believe in objective morality. I believe in a moral system that humans have developed over time to help us learn to deal with one another and live with one another and work together as a society. I think that's where our morals and our basic human empathy and our laws have evolved from. Personally, I get my morals from not being treated great by a lot of people growing up, and just to put it lightly, and that creating a lot of feelings of depression and anxiety and trauma and wanting to take my life and all that stuff. And I remember at a young age thinking, wow, I don't like feeling this way, and I don't want anyone else to feel this way, and I definitely don't want to make anyone else feel this way. So I adjusted my attitude accordingly and how I lived my life accordingly. Try to be nice. Try to be basically all the things that I needed from someone growing up I didn't always have. Try to be nice, understanding, caring, loving, all that good stuff. Because I know what it feels like when people aren't like that. Just basic human empathy. You are stuck with the understanding of God that you know nothing of except that he made the world. God is no more than a painted backdrop glimpse when people envision the drama of creation. I mean, I didn't really go into detail about what I think about a God. That's not quite my idea of a God. I've studied scripture. I understand the whole earth shattering, creates the heaven and earth, parts the Red Sea, all that stuff. I understand what a God is. How can you worship something less intelligent than you? I don't know. I don't. If we're talking about the cow, that was just kind of making jokes, honestly. Subjective morality. Yeah. I don't really believe in objective morality, so yeah. So you are utilitarian. I wouldn't say that. I find these greater gods worshiper always have a moment of rebellion, of this one very predictable. Okay. God is good. Okay. Cleaning my room while watching, so I might not type a lot. Just know I'm still here. You're fine. You are under no obligation to even be here, let alone engage in chat. So, just the fact that you have me on as background noise is really cool, honestly. Just that anyone is willing to listen to me ramble about whatever and hopefully sound somewhat intelligent is cool. I lack empathy in ways because I'm incapable of depression or sadness. I only understand it as a concept or frustration. It'd be like that sometimes. That's not your fault. So you don't believe objective morality. You can't argue against terrible things being done to people. Yeah, I can. Because we've agreed that that's just terrible things, and we don't like that. Do you want those things to happen to you? No. So wouldn't it make sense to support a society where that stuff is frowned upon? Where forcing yourself on somebody or taking someone's life or taking someone's belongings is frowned upon, because that protects you and others. We also have basic human empathy to where we understand, hey, things don't feel good to me, these also don't feel good to other people. So let's not do these to other people. This is a moral system that we've evolved with throughout the 200,000 year human history. Also, I'm not really anti-abortion. I'm pro-choice, so there's that. He just doesn't care for modern morality. And where people don't understand morality is when they put their dogma into it, yeah. Or I get a lot of people, and I'm not saying that, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but I'm not saying that you're saying this. But unless we can prove that there's a God, and that these morals from the Bible or the Quran or anything like that came from a God, it kind of looks like humans developed their own morality independent of a God, and then plugged their moral systems into these religions that they created. So it still seems like, even with the Bible being existing, that it's still this moral system, this secular moral system that's evolved with humanity. Done cleaning. Nice. So we just came to existence from nothing? I don't really know how we came to existence. There was a cat. Yes, that was Smokey. You need to argue against things like forcing yourself on people and abortion legally proves that morality is subjective when you think about it because it's not agreed on. Maybe. Especially abortion's a hot topic. That's definitely one of the iffy ones, but forcing yourself on someone, taking people's lives and taking people's possessions is mostly agreed upon throughout different cultures and civilizations as, hey, don't do that. Smokey, you want to say hi to the people? The people liked when you walked by. People who owns a cow believe in give reverence like a god, that it give them benefit, have faith in it, give them a home and take care of their needs, worship it, simple as that. Not really. I don't think owning a cow is the same as worshiping that cow as a god. There you go. The audience will love that. That's that cute kitty action. That's what people are here for. There is plausible alternatives to a creator. I agree. Recommend you buy a dog. Maybe one day. I grew up with dogs, actually, so I like dogs. I just have 3 cats, so I'm not getting anything else for a minute. Believing that a god created an entire universe just to center it on a random planet is kind of crazy. It is kind of crazy. And the universe is so big and expansive, and God, did he just make it all just to look pretty? Just so we can look at the pretty stuff? There's entire galaxies and planets and stars out there and other solar systems. It's just a backdrop, though. It's just a painted backdrop for us. I don't know. Sorry. I want to say... Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood. You wanted to say the contrary, that there is no possible alternative. Okay. Well, so what if there wasn't? What if there are no other alternatives? How does that prove God? Because here's the problem of an argument called God of the Gaps. Throughout human history, humans have come up with a number of supernatural explanations for completely natural phenomena throughout different cultures and religions. People explained things like insect swarms, natural disasters, the sun rising and setting, the seasons changing, diseases. All these things had different supernatural explanations throughout different cultures because people were saying, what else could it possibly be? You're not going to have a very easy time going to somebody 50,000 years ago and explaining to them how plate tectonics work. They're not going to understand what you're saying. Or they're looking at this flat land and seeing the sun and moon going around each other. Explain to them Earth's tilt on its axis as it goes around the sun. They're not going to understand it. So throughout time, we've learned some of these things. We have better, more actual evidence-based, credible explanations for these natural phenomena, so we don't need to invoke the supernatural explanations anymore. So it seems completely nonsensical to me to continue to use this line of reasoning that we've used in the past, that's failed us so many times in the past, when we have all these explanations for things that we used to use that line of reasoning for. It has failed us. So no, I don't know how life came from non-life. I don't know how the universe got here. We have the Great Expansion. I don't know what came before that. But that doesn't mean that it's a God, just because you don't know what else it is. That's just not how it works. Howdy. If you have a dichotomy and one doesn't work, the other works by default. But we don't know what all the options are. We don't know what all of the alternative options are. There could be something much like people 50,000 years ago didn't know what plate tectonics were. And then we discovered those, and now we understand that that causes earthquakes and continental drift and things like that, or the Earth's tilt on its axis and stuff like that. People didn't have that information yet. We are not at the peak of human intelligence or advancement or technology or anything like that. We are just at a step of the process. There's a lot that we still don't know. We don't know what all is at the bottom of our oceans, you know. So to say we don't have an answer yet for how the universe got here, therefore it has to be the supernatural one, it's just completely nonsense to me. I wonder if Christianity will be referred to as Christian mythology in the future when people realize Jesus ain't coming back. It's possible. And in the beginning it said Adam and Eve were in the garden and the serpent tricked them. How could the serpent talk to them? He's talking to snakes. Because God. We don't know, therefore it was no God. I'm not saying it wasn't a God. I'm just saying if you're putting forth a claim of what it is, you need evidence to back up that claim if you want someone to take you seriously. I don't know what it is. And it could be a God, sure. So let's see the evidence for that. That's what I'm saying. God made all humans on the same day. So how was it that Adam and Eve on earth, but they said we all made on the same day? I don't know. I think it was more of Adam and Eve came first and then made down the line. The Bible's not really clear where all the other humans came from. The options are either there was a powerful, intelligent creator or not. The no God hypothesis does not work. There could not be. It's still possible that there wasn't a God, though. It is still possible that there wasn't a God, though. Hello, Taylor. Yes, Taylor is my wife. If you make no claim, what is the point of your stream? To explain how there's not really any good evidence for the existence of a God. I'm trying to explain what this evidence that we have for Christianity and how it's really not that great, or gods in general, how it's really not that great. I'm trying to explain how the bricks that have been used to build this worldview aren't good bricks that should be used to build anything, aren't anything credible. I love how Christian arguments is no different than Buddhism, but Buddhism can prove that they had an actual person. Fair? There is currently a 2-foot snake in the store. Why? There's a lot of stuff in the Bible that just doesn't add up. This is true. Well, kind of, and if I skip some of your chats, I'm sorry. Chat's just kind of going, and I ramble a lot, so I'm trying to like stay at the bottom so I can continue to engaging with you, and sometimes I just miss chats, so I do apologize. What kind of evidence would be satisfactory for you without you saying you were hallucinating? I don't know. Especially now with technology that we have, you know, we can make images in the sky with drones. So like even if we saw what looks like, you know, God parting the clouds or whatever, it could be a hologram or something, or some technology that we don't, you know, fully understand yet, that somebody else, you know, developed and hasn't released to the public. I don't know. I do like Matt Dillahunty's response though to this. If there is a God and he's all-knowing, he should know what it would take to convince me. And if he actually cares about me, he would give me that evidence. And he hasn't. Which means either he doesn't care, or he doesn't exist, or he doesn't want me to know right now. Either way, it's not really my issue. Because I really don't know. I really don't know what kind of evidence it would take. But I would say I'd probably be looking for something along the lines of the evidence that we use for everything else. Something credible, tangible, measurable, observable, testable, repeatable, you know, something that we can actually play with and test, you know. It's like literally anything, even something as simple as, does gravity exist? We can play with that, and we can measure the speed, the rate of how the rate of how fast, I don't know how to put words together. We can measure how fast it drops and how fast this accelerates to the ground. And we can play with stuff and we can calculate stuff. We have nothing like that with a God. And that's the biggest issue. The mere fact that we exist does not prove God. I'm going to scroll to the bottom, so I'm sorry if I miss anyone's chats. You can always re-chat if I don't respond to you. It might just be that I missed you, and I do apologize for that. You're inexcusable in the natural world points to God. Your denial is not a valid excuse. Yeah, I'm aware of the different fail-safes that the Bible has to dismiss and discredit believe in it. I'm very much aware. It was a very well-written text in that matter to kind of other and distance other people who don't believe in that stuff. The Fibonacci sequence in the universe does not show designer. No. Just because you don't understand how something works does not mean that it has to be a God. You need to prove a God exists, prove that it can do the things you're claiming, and prove that it did do the things that you're claiming. That's what you have to do. You cannot just say, I don't know, therefore it has to be a God. Just like people 50,000 years ago didn't know how the planets, how the seasons changed. So they had supernatural explanations. Are those supernatural explanations true just because they had no other explanation? No, because later on down the line, we found a better explanation that's actually backed by evidence. And it's possible that we may never know the answers to some of these big things, like how life come from non-life, how did the universe get started, all that stuff. But we can't keep using this continuously failed method of, I don't know, therefore it has to be a God, especially for those saying, not only does it have to be a God, but it has to be my God. And I know these things about my God because this book says that these attributes about my God. None of that works, unfortunately. And I would love there to be a God. I would love for that to be true. I would love for it to be like, well, it simply must be a God because it can't be anything else. But we don't know that it can't be anything else because we don't know what all of the other options are. It could be something that we haven't discovered yet. Like people 500,000 years ago didn't discover the Earth's tilt on its axis, or plate tectonics, or germs, or anything like that. Finally, some interesting comment about free will. You see, free will has become inflated so much because they greatly value sin. I don't know really what I'm not sure what exactly you're trying to say, I'm going to be honest with you. Even if there's a creator, why should it be this specific creator? I agree that finding evidence is very difficult. For us modern people, the best evidence is the mathematical improbability of this perfectly functional place. The universe functions like this because this is how the universe can function. That's just how it is. And everything that came from the universe because that's a function that the universe is able to do. And we don't fully understand that. And I understand, it's crazy, it's weird, it's cool. But that doesn't mean that we can just stop all thought and just say it must be a God. Just because we are here, it doesn't prove that God is real. It just proves something made us. It just proves that we got here. You here to prove macroevolution? I'm not one person to speak on evolution. I would recommend Forrest Valkai for any talk on evolution. Especially, he has a series, I think it's like a 4-part series called The Light of Evolution. Explains it really well, at least the basics. Much better than I could. I am not a biologist or a smart person in the slightest, so. You can't believe in microevolution, but not macroevolution, in my opinion. If you have a few water droplets dropping over a long period of time, it'll become an ocean. Sure. While following their own will for man is considered as unrighteous and could lead to sin. Maybe. But until you can prove there's a God, how do we know that there's any will outside of the human will? Chat is officially alive, and I do appreciate that to everyone commenting, because there's discussions. It's good. It's good discussions. I like discussions. I like not having to sit here trying to make up whatever off the top of my head. So thank you, all of you, for engaging. I do appreciate it. Sorry, something flew in front of me. I have ADHD, forgive me. Are all the best scientists Christians like Isaac Newton and Francis Bacon? I agree with Super Mario Gabriel, because more people were Christian back then. And you can also still be smart and Christian. Most Nobel Prize winners are Christian. Isn't Nobel Prize kind of like a more of a European thing and United States thing, where there's the majority of Christians? I could be completely wrong. But if your focus group that you're looking at is majority Christian, it would only logically follow that the majority of anything would be Christian. And especially, again, like Super Mario Gabriel said, if you go back further to like the 1700s and whatnot and forward, more people were religious. And especially because we didn't have as much scientific understanding and technology. So you had a lot more people saying, I don't know what else it could be. It must be God. I recommend you find another God and stop following that atheist God, jealous God who claims that other gods are false. It's quite an obnoxious belief laid out by the atheist God. The atheist doesn't have a God. Also, it's wild to me that you keep saying, just go find another God. Are you not concerned with truth? Are you not concerned with what God is the right God? It is very hard to prove the existence of something that cannot be explored or measured. I agree. I think it would be a huge game changer if we could find some way to measure and observe and study the supernatural. I think it would be great. Because again, I would love there to be a God. I would love there to be an afterlife. I would love there to be souls, spirits, ghosts, all of that stuff, spiritual energy. I would love all of that. And it could just be that we don't have the tools to study those things. It could be. I would not be upset if that was the case. If it was just something that we just simply didn't know yet. Because maybe in the future, the thing that we're looking for, the evidence-based thing that we should be looking for to fill in the gaps, maybe somewhere in the future, it will turn out to be God. Maybe we will find evidence for God and the supernatural and whatnot, and be able to fill in these gaps with these supernatural things based on evidence. I think that'd be kind of cool. But whatever. It just kind of is what it is, unfortunately. Maybe not any of the Abrahamic gods. Not really on board with the Abrahamic gods, but like something out there, you know? Especially since growing up, I thought I had a relationship with a God. You know, I had a different view of the Abrahamic God, obviously, growing up when I was a devout Christian. But I thought I had a good relationship with this God. You know, that this God had my back, that was looking out for me, that everything was going to be okay. So long as, you know, this God was there. You know, I would pray to this God throughout the day, every day, to make sure every step I took was in alignment with this God's will. And I would look for and perceive things to be signs and messages from this God telling me how to lead my life. And it was very heartbreaking coming to the conclusion that kind of seems like it's more of an imaginary friend type of situation, because you have all these other people talking to all these other gods, getting all these other different answers. So who's right? You know, even within Christianity, I often say there are thousands of different denominations of Christianity, each with their own variation on what Christianity is, what God is, all of this stuff. And then within those denominations, there are so many different people, each with their own different ideas and interpretations on what God is, usually based on their denomination. So, I mean, just scrolling through my comment sections on my videos, you get so many different ideas and often conflicting ideas about what this God is and what he wants and all of this stuff. And I don't know, it's very easy to kind of slip into the mindset of everyone's making it up as they go along, you know? You can't just recommend and try to change people's religions, because how do we know what God is the right God? And if there even is a God? This is true. So you would call yourself a pessimist now? I do get pessimistic sometimes, but I try to steer away from that. I try to. Science, dogma, and religion are about the same. They both got theories. Besides, one tends to be more fiscally there and one isn't. Maybe. Three main denominations: Orthodox, Catholic, Protestant. Why now look at what the early church father thought? I mean, just because they're like the top denominations doesn't mean that they're true ones. Truth doesn't necessarily become truth based on majority vote. It could be that it's one of the different denominations that no one's even heard of that has a following of like 5 people. That maybe that's the right denomination of Christianity. Who really knows? I believe everything is infinite. Everything is made of something infinitely. There's no such thing as a nothing. Maybe. I'm a Christian and I don't force my religion on others. I try to understand what they are. I try to understand what they're saying, because just because I'm Christian, sorry, chat keeps moving, doesn't mean I can't learn what people's point of views are coming from. Yeah, I always try to learn different people's point of views. That's one of the reasons. That's one of the ways I was able to get out of Christianity. Was I'm like, hey, I want to be able to defend Christianity against atheists. Let's see what the atheists say. Let's listen to, the arguments against Christianity and kind of weigh those with the arguments for. And that's one of the things that helped me get out of Christianity. Yeah, I will say this once again: God is something people believe in, atheism, and give worship, care, and value it. Sometimes they proselytize to increase the value, atheist deconstruction, atheist preach. I think we're just going to disagree on our definitions of God. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think we're going to see eye to eye there. The word Satan in Hebrew means adversary or accuser, which isn't really a bad thing. And even God was called Satan in the Bible. Oh yeah. The word Satan is used all kinds. Satan and devil are used all kinds of times throughout the Bible and in different contexts. I mean, heck, in the story of Job, Satan is seen as more of a member of God's council, and who works with the permission of God, who goes and punishes Job because God allows him to. It's interesting. If you look more into the Bible, it's interesting. Christian God is not secretive. Maybe. Maybe bias my vote is for Gnosticism. Maybe. How do you define love? It's a hard thing to define. I'm going to be completely honest with you. It's more of a feeling rather than something to properly explain. I can give examples of what love looks like and maybe feels like, the warm fuzzies, caring for someone, how Olaf puts it, putting someone else's needs before your own, looking out for people, wanting to be with people, wanting to be around certain people. You know, I can give you certain attributes of it. I don't know if I can give a strict definition. Lucifer was called Satan, then people basically translated Satan as his new name. It's like a student being named student in a story, like it's his actual name on his birth certificate. God is vindicating Job. God, you know, God did Job dirty. He really just did. He made a bet with Satan, and sure, he won the bet, and that's all well and great, but how are you going to do all that stuff to one of your greatest followers just because the devil made a bet with you? You should go and read the book of Job. I do. I have read the book of Job. What part am I missing? I understand, you know, you could say it was all one big test and whatnot. I'm just saying it's very, very messed up. Vindication. Okay. Was that necessary, though? Job was righteous. And God let Satan take everything, including his kids. And his servants just murder them all. And take everything he had. And yeah, you know, you can say he gave back double. But... and Job still loved God. And that's great. It's a really shitty, abusive thing for God to do, though. It's a really messed up test of love. Especially, I always get stuck on in Job's kids. Because God gave Job double of what he had before, including double the kids, and that's great. But kids aren't property that you can just replace. Each kid you have a relationship with, it's an actual human being that you love. And those kids that Job lost, he lost for good. He did not get those kids back, plus, you know, X amount of others. I think he had 3 kids. I could be completely wrong. Don't ask me why that number just popped in my head. But he didn't give those kids back and then more. He gave just more kids. Meanwhile, you had a bad day and left Christianity. I did not. But that's a great way to dismiss and discredit former believers so you don't actually have to listen to their critiques. God did let the devil do these things to Job. Yep. Because that was part of the deal. What is the highest level of love you can show for someone? I feel like I'm walking into a trap, but I'll spring it anyway. Probably giving your life for someone else, for someone you care about. Being able to sacrifice everything for someone. Is the cat still with you? I don't know where Smokey went. Peanut's sleeping over there on the couch. I'm gonna show you. There's Peanut. You sleepy kitty. What's your opinion on Christians arguing that people don't die for something they don't believe in, and referring to apostles that died for what they witnessed? I think a lot of people have died for what they believe in, but that doesn't make what they believe in true. I mean, if you've read about the Heaven's Gate cult, it was a cult that believed that when a certain comment went by, I think it was Hailbop, I'm not sure. Somebody, please fact check me in the comments in this live later on. If I get anything wrong, I'd be more than happy to be fact checked. But a comment went by, and the idea was that while this comment was passing, if these people killed themselves, they would be able to get onto that comment and it would take them to heaven. It was like an alien spaceship leading to heaven. And they killed themselves, believing in that. There's also 9/11, classic example. You know, someone who's willing to crash a plane into a building and take their own lives for their God probably had some very strong feelings towards their God. There's also people who fight in wars to defend their country. Does that mean that every country that ever exists is the greatest country ever? You know, every country that has people willing to fight and die for it is the greatest country ever and is the one true country? Plenty of people believe in things, and plenty of people are convinced of things. And I want to encourage people to listen to people from other religions and see what they say about their religions. I have a version of the Bhagavad Gita, the I guess main holy book, one of the main holy books of Hinduism, and the author of that translation that I have started by talking about a trip that they recently took, or that they had taken, to the site where the battle in the Bhagavad Gita took place, where the Bhagavad Gita was given to Arjuna. And they were positively giddy about being able to go to that site. And they were explaining, like, this is where, this happened, that, not. It's the passion was flowing out of the page for just like how much they care and how passionate they were about the subject. And it was an eye-opening moment. Just like, that's passion that I've only seen from Christians. But it made me realize that other religions have followers who are just as passionate, sometimes more passionate than Christianity and Christians. So I have let chat go, so please forgive me. Oh, you guys didn't put that much. Great, makes my job easy. I know this person isn't talking, he doesn't even know how to capitalize G in God, maybe. Are you woke perchance, Drew? What does that even mean? Woke seems to be just a word that certain Christians like to put on people that basically means not Christian, or of this new world, or whatever, this sinful world. So Jesus, God the Son, shows the highest love. Yes, the God sacrificing himself to save us from the system that he created, because there's no other way to do it. In some big egotistical, look at how great I am, look at how much I love you, I did this for you, how could you ever, like an abusive partner, if you want to get away from your abusive partner, but then you have kidney failure, and they donate a kidney, they can use that over you. I donated a kidney for you, you can't leave me. So yeah, it makes sense, because the God of the Bible is kind of egotistical. And especially, you look at Jesus' sacrifice. Jesus is God. At least most Christian denominations do seem to think that Jesus is God. So an eternal being comes down for 30 years, has a very, very bad weekend, very bad couple of days. I'm not downplaying crucifixion, but then he gets up 3 days later like nothing happens. Just walking around, he lets people stick their fingers in his wounds like it's a party trick, and then he skips back up to heaven, back to eternal bliss. So there wasn't really a sacrifice. It was more of just a big, hey, look at me display, let me, trick you and whatnot. Especially when you're saving us from sin. Sin first entered into the world in the Garden of Eden, where God creates Adam and Eve, does not give them a knowledge of good and evil, puts that knowledge in a fruit and says, don't eat that fruit. And then this all-present, all-knowing God either walks away or just kind of sits back and watches as this great tempter that he also put in the garden with his naive new creation tempts them into eating the fruit, and then God gets angry that they ate the fruit, even though they didn't have a knowledge of good and evil. They did not have a good way to determine whether or not they should listen to God. They just, the tempter was cunning. It was very cunning, and it worked, because why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't they fall for it? So yeah, no, I'm aware of the whole Jesus story, and I'm not really impressed. Even if it's all true, I'm not really that impressed. They drank the forbidden Kool-Aid. They did drink the forbidden Kool-Aid. Anything you would die for? I would die for my wife and daughter, and probably a lot of my family, maybe friends. How long do I plan on being alive for? Not much longer. I'm honestly probably gonna get off soon. I was aiming for more like 10:30, but we're having good conversations, so I don't really want to get off, but like I probably should, So I don't know free will. What about free will? What do I think about woke people? There's not a solid definition on what woke people is. All I hear of what woke people is Christians saying people who don't believe in Christianity, follow the ways of the world or the secular mindset or things like that. It's it has a very, very broad definition of not us. Is basically what it is. She's a toddler. I won't give her exact age, but she's a toddler. Little tiny human person. She's adorable. Love her. It was all prophecy. What was all prophecy? Because I'm not really impressed by the prophecies in the Bible either, if we're going to go down that road. Because I see the prophecies in the Bible, I usually separate them generally into two categories: internal and external prophecies. There's there's this the Old Testament prophecy, coming of Jesus, death and resurrection. Yeah. So that's what I call internal prophecies, where someone wrote something, said this is going to happen. They wrote it down in chapter 1. And in chapter 2, someone with knowledge of what was written in chapter 1 wrote down that this thing happened. So unless you can really prove that Jesus, rose from the dead and all this stuff, and that he's God and all this stuff, and that the prophecies even existed, because a lot of the books of the Bible have been tweaked and changed and different things added and put in. We don't even talk about God's wife in the Bible. We don't even talk about Adam's first wife in the Bible anymore, even though they were originally a part of the Hebrew culture. So things have gotten mixed around. So yeah, I'm not really, it's not really interesting when I see that somebody wrote this earlier in the book and then somebody wrote this later in the book as an internal prophecy. I don't really find it credible. And then there's external prophecies, kind of like the end time prophecies. And the problem with these is they are way too ambiguous. They are way too open to interpretation. Because for about, it seems like the past 2,000 years, people have thought that we were living in the end times. And it kind of seemed like Jesus was saying, hey, this generation is not going to pass away until the world ends. And then that generation passed away. Or some of you will not see death until the world ends. So in 2000, for like at least the past 100 years or so, people have said, oh, this is a sign of the end times. No, this is a sign of the end times. No, this is a sign of the end times. And 100 years later, they're like, oh, we were wrong about that being a sign of the end time. This is the sign of the end time. Nobody really knows. It's all just broad and open to interpretation. Everyone's just kind of grasping at straws, just hoping, that they're the last generation. There's so many videos going back into, the 1900s of, we're the last generation, we're the last generation, we're the last generation, we're the last generation. And they weren't. It's the boy who cried wolf at this point, because everyone's just trying to grasp at straws, because it has to happen any second now, because Jesus said it was going to happen now, and his followers, including Paul in the New Testament letters and the other writers, seemed to think that it was a more imminent threat, a more immediate threat that was coming very soon, and it didn't. So, yeah, no, the prophecies don't really got much for. Don't really got much for. But he was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquities, and chastised of peace upon him, and stripes, and we are healed. Yeah, I understand that that's what the book says, but that doesn't really prove stuff about God and whatnot. You know about the Dead Sea Scrolls? Not as extensively as I should. Is there something about the Dead Sea Scrolls that you would like to bring up and educate me on? I'd be interested to learn that. Because from what I understand, the Dead Sea Scrolls don't really do much to lend credibility to the Christian story either. So there's that. How much battery is my phone at? 54. We're fine. Just making sure my phone's not going to die. I mean, I'm about to end the live anyway here in a little bit, but just want to make sure my phone wasn't at like 2% battery or anything. Scripture has been changed, yes. Different things have been tweaked and routed through. And retranslated and mistranslated, and sometimes, yes, blatantly changed. I don't know much about the Dead Sea Scrolls. Think you ever talk it was fun? I'm having fun. I'm not leaving like right now. I'm not getting off like right now. Probably should. Probably should. But like we're having conversation. It's been a while since I looked at the information regarding the Dead Sea Scrolls, but I do remember it didn't seem like there was anything all too compelling about them. Oh, somebody deleted all their messages. Or retracted. I don't know what that meant. The main message of death and burial and resurrection of Christ has been changed. The main message of death, burial, and resurrection of Christ has been changed. Okay. How so? Message retracted. Why are people's messages getting deleted? Or did you take your message down? Message of death, burial, resurrection of Jesus has not been changed. Okay. Sorry. That's why you took it down. Okay, cool. Does that prove that it happened though? Does that really get us anywhere? Have I looked in Islam before? Not too deeply. Mostly focused on Christianity. I've read the Quran, if that helps. If that gets me any points. The amount of persecution Christians have been through, it's amazing we still have our scripture. I mean, other religions have been through persecution as well. Have you looked into the almighty space cat? I have. The rainbow space cat that pooped us out during the intergalactic laser wars of Stardate E370 in hopes that we would become the next prime species rising out of the ashes of a war-torn multiverse. Praise be to him. It makes me happy when people remember stuff like that. I remember like a year and a half ago, I was recording in my garage where I often record in, and I was just saying I could say that this ladder is a genie that grants me all the wishes that I could ever want. And then like a couple months ago, I mentioned Rainbow Space Cat, and someone's like, I thought Ladder Genie was the one true god. It's like, oh my gosh, you remember Ladder Genie. It's just, I don't know. It's little cute little community things that I just like. Which religion do I want to defend Christianity with? I'm sorry, what are you asking? Watching your shorts for a year now? Well, I'm glad. It always makes me happy to see people stick around. The biggest issue I had with the Quran, I just didn't find it compelling. Didn't really see anything credible just overall in the text. I don't really know anything specific. I think a shorter list would just be that. Didn't really find it compelling or convincing. Because a lot of the Quran is we've given you this proof so that you'll believe, but then some people aren't going to believe. And, that's just going to be unfortunate for them. And it's just like, okay, not really compelling, personally. I should probably get off the live. Thank you, everyone, for stopping by, for being here. Anyone who watching, I'm an agnostic atheist, which you're bringing up good discussions. You are the main reason I haven't ended the live yet. At least for the past 15 minutes or so. You're bringing up good discussion points and what to talk. Do I determine everything with statistic? Kind of. I definitely use statistics, probabilities, evidence, things like that. Like for example, this might not be quite what we're saying, but people like to say, when you sit in a chair, you have faith that the chair's not going to break. No, I have reason to believe that the chair's not going to break, because if you look at how many chairs have been sat in versus how many chairs have broken upon being sat in, the odds are in my favor that this chair will not break. Statistically, you are wrong. Okay. You believe in absolute truth with certain things. That kind of depends on it, but as far as we can tell in reality, this fidget cube is in my hands. I believe that as an absolute truth. I'm confused? Maybe. That's entirely possible. I could just be completely wrong about everything. Could be. Could be lost, one of the lost sheep of the Lord. But, as much as I do enjoy conversing with you, I really, really do, it is time for me to go. So thank you, everyone, for stopping by. Thank you for anyone watching this live stream. In the future, I'm going to leave it up on YouTube, so you can watch it. If you made it this far, almost an hour and a half, wow. What are you doing here? Why did you stick around for this long? But thank you for, I always just appreciate anyone willing to give me the time of day, especially anyone who is willing to engage with me, like, comment, follow, engage in chat, whatever, even people who disagree with me. It's really cool. I even have subscribers here who are subscribed to my channel and regularly engage with my channel who don't agree with me. That's awesome. I love that, especially because I love getting different ideas and opinions in my comment sections and in the chats and whatnot. So it's cool, and I appreciate it. I'm a random nobody on YouTube, so thank you all for your support, and I will maybe see you next week. I try to go live every Tuesday. It's at around 9-ish, 9:30-ish Central Standard Time. So maybe I'll see you again there. So thank you for being here. Have a good day. Bye.